Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one, I'm going to be taking a look at a whole bunch of Cynthia's Garchomp decks from the set Destined Rivals. So, Cynthia's Garchomp is a very big fighting type Pokemon, like one of the biggest you can get really in the game. 330 HP is quite a lot of HP, and you can modify it as well, by the way, with the tool card, the Cynthia's Power Weight, which will add plus 70 HP, so you can give this thing 400 hit points, which is kind of crazy on a 2-prizer. But yeah, it does have two pretty decent attacks, I would say. Dragon Buster is definitely the standout, but Spiral Dive might be useful in some situations. For a single fighting energy, it says you may draw cards until you have 6 in your hand, and it does 100 damage. Not the worst thing in the world, especially since these lists will be playing things like damage modifiers, so you will be able to KO things like, well, any stage 1 Pokemon that has more than 100 HP, but not really too tanky. Stuff like Radiant Greninja, even though that won't be around by the time this video goes up. It will be around when I'm recording it, but yeah, sadly Radiant Greninja will be rotating, so Spiral Dive does have some uses though. And then Dragon Buster for 2 fighting energy, which is kind of the reason why you play Garchomp, does 260 damage, which is quite a lot, it's quite a lot of damage. However, you do have to discard all energy from his Pokemon. So you'll notice a common theme with these lists is they're often just about trying to find ways to either power up Garchomp or just get that damage a little bit higher, because we live in the day and age where 260 damage is actually not a lot of damage really at the end of the day. It's not enough. It's not enough to KO the likes of, well, obviously Charizard EX with 330 HP as well, but just other stage 1 tanky EX Pokemon that have like 280 HP. So yeah, we do have to play ways of modifying Garchomp's damage. But another quick bonus before we move on is that Garchomp does have free retreat, which is fantastic. Always like to see free retreat. Just means that if you have to discard all energy, of course, you can free retreat into a healthier Garchomp, which also has energy attached to it. So yeah, honestly, that's pretty good reason why you should play Garchomp as well. Free retreat is great. So some new cards just to go over. We have a Cynthia's Gabite, which has a very important ability, King's Call, which says once in your turn, you may search your deck for a Cynthia's Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Great. It'll help you just set up the next Garchomp line really consistently, but it will also just help with finding tech cards like Cynthia's Spiritomb and Roserade. So yeah, it's honestly Cynthia's Gabite is great, and you'll want to focus around TM evolution and stuff, so it's pretty cool. Also got Cynthia's Spiritomb, which does 10 damage for each damage counter on your benched Cynthia's Pokemon, which can be super useful, but your opponent might just ignore Spiritomb and boss around it, so you have to time it right. Otherwise, it's kind of a wasted move, but still can be very potent, and of course you can just free retreat into it, which is great. Also got Cynthia's Roserade, which has the ability Glory Yell, which is a great name for an ability. Your Cynthia's Pokemon's attacks do plus 30 more damage, so of course that crucial getting from 260 past the 280 threshold into 290, which is really cool. So this ability will stack as far as I can tell, but you realistically probably don't want to try and set up 2 Cynthia's Roserade in the game. You just want to set up 1. And then for like bigger Pokemon, you might want to use something like the occasional Defiance Band maybe, or Monkey Dory, but still a very, very playable card, which is cool to see for Roserade. Doesn't always get a lot of love in the TCG. But this first list here is a very simple back to basics list. These lists do get kind of crazy, but I wanted to start the video off with something simple and calm, really, to get into the swing of things, really. So 2 Spiritomb, 1 Budew, 3 Monkey Dory, and that's it for other Pokemon. So very, very straightforward. Not that many Roblox Pokemon. Honestly, just 3 Garchomp EX. Trainers are fairly self-explanatory, but honestly a lot more consistent than what we'll see later on the video. Things get pretty wild, but I think for the most part, this is honestly just a really solid place to start with. Of course, with Monkey Dory, you kind of just have to wait until a Garchomp takes a hit before you get your plus 30 modifier. But assuming you get 2 Monkey Dory set up, which isn't impossible with 3 Dark Energy and 2 Crispin, you could realistically get maybe plus 60 damage from Monkey Dory, which is cool. So you could like stack that up across a few turns that also, KO Budews if there's any left on the board. But, it's still a very fun combo. I'd say very simple and easy to play. Also running the Unfair Stamp as an ace-spec of choice, which is pretty cool because you don't really have much of a built-in draw engine, which is to be expected, I guess, for this kind of build. But yeah, very straightforward. Honestly, looking forward to at least giving this one a go because, yeah, as I say, there's honestly a lot of merits with just being straightforward and consistent. Words. Consistent, that's the word I was aiming for there. So yeah, pretty solid list overall, though. Next up, though, is we have a Garchomp Roserade build. So kind of keeping things still a bit simple. We've got a 2-2 line of Roserade, and that's pretty much it. Got a Budew in there as well, of course. 2 Spiritomb. Kind of need Budew, by the way, just to slow the game down in the earlier game. Well, like the earlier few turns, really. We just want Budew to stall for a bit. Also got Pheasantipity, which is, yeah, to be expected, I guess. I mean, this list wasn't running Pheasantipity, so it's not crucial if you don't like the card or you're just a bit bored of it like me and want to try out different things. But for the most part, a fairly straightforward list as Pokemon Go. As for trainers, kind of like them. Prime Catcher as an A spec is kind of cool. Even if you are playing 4 bosses orders, like I do respect Prime Catcher because like Garchomp of course has free retreat, Budew has free retreat, so you'll probably always have a pivot on the board at least. But at the same time, 4 boss plus a prime catcher. Like this player really likes to gust. But aside from that, very, very consistent. Supporters are more consistent than the last list. Town Store is quite an interesting. Is that Town Store? I think it's Town Store. Yeah, that's kind of an interesting stadium of choice, allowing you to tutor out your tools when you need them. But yeah, also that's another thing. This list is playing 6 tool cards, which is kind of crazy in hindsight. But still a very straightforward list. Honestly, looking forward to giving this one a go because, Roserade is cool. So that's nice. Then this next list is a Garchomp Roserade Pidgeot build. Also got Blood Moon Ursaluna tacked in. So if you're more interested in, I guess, playing with Pidgeot, like I'm fairly tired of playing with and against Pidgeot at this point, I must confess. But if it's up your street, you like playing Pidgeot decks, then of course this list is more for you. Also playing a fun array of energy. We've got 5 fighting energy, 2 dark energy, 1 luminous, 1 Neo Up energy. I can't imagine what thought process or testing went into, building this. It's also playing 4 different tool cards, which is kind of crazy. It's playing the new Brock Scouting from Journey Together. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on in this list. It's not really my cup of tea just because of how like random and crazy it is, but maybe further down the line with enough Garchomp experience, I might give this one a go. But I think one of the other lists is probably one that I'll feature on the channel because, yeah, this one just seems a little bit too crazy for me, and I'm personally not a fan of having to set up Pidgeot, even though it is really good. So, yeah, it's a very good list. Honestly, would expect this to be one of the better Garchomp lists to come out of the set. But personally, yeah, not my cup of tea, really. Next up, though, is we have a Froslass build. So, of course, using Froslass to damage Monkey Dory and all of your opponent's benched Pokemon that have abilities and such. And then, of course, you can move those damage counters from Monkey Dory to self-heal it, which is great. I do think Froslass is a smidge risky just because you want to get the most use out of Gabite. And Gabite, of course, has an ability, and you really don't want to be putting any extra pressure on your Garchomp, if that makes sense. Like, you really don't want to basically promote a Garchomp that's already been had several turns worth of Froslass damage on it, built up over by Gabite and stuff. So yeah, that's a bit of a concern I would have with this deck, really. But aside from that, I guess you can heal them with Monkey Dory at the end of the day. But yeah, it seems pretty cool. Supporter lineup is interesting. I would still try and make room for Crispin, especially over the likes of Morty, which is yeah, that's an inspired choice. Japan really seems to like Morty over there, but yeah, I would still run Crispin for Monkey Dory, but yeah, aside from that, oh yeah, there's also a Sudowoodo. I should probably mention that. That's kind of fun, I guess. Like flip a coin, if heads, choose one of your opponent's attacks and use it as this attack. So like you could copy like a very powerful Pokemon like Garchomp or well another Garchomp or a Charizard, I guess, in the late game. But honestly, I don't think Sudowoodo is worth it. He's just he's an expensive card as well. 2 colorless is a bit expensive in this deck because you really want to be putting all your energy onto Garchomp. So or Monkey Dory, but yeah, no energy ramp is a bit suspicious with this deck. But I guess you want your opponent to go through 2 Budew, so still pretty cool though. Next up is we have more of a control-based variant, so if you like stalling and walling out your opponent, then this will be right up your street. So running Hero's Cape as a choice of A-spec, so you can really get to high HP. Also got Milotic, as well as Mimikyu, and as well the Cornerstone Ogerpon. So you've got like plenty of choice for HP buffs with a Hero's Cape, which is cool to see. And of course, that leans into Monkey Dory and Spiritomb, just moving damage counters off them as well. So honestly, a really cool list. There is a lot going on here. Like, I have to wonder why Tatsuguri's in here. It's a bit of an interesting choice as well. But I guess because you're always running 4 Arvin, you're always running a lot of tool cards, then yeah, maybe in a skateboard makes sense. You use like a TM evolution, turn 1 going second, and then after that use a skateboard to get it out the after spot. But still a very cool list, but yeah, not my favorite. But yeah, thanks for watching. Honestly, a lot of fun decks to try out here with Cynthia's Garchomp. I think the more straightforward builds are ones that I will gravitate towards, at least initially, just because I don't want to try out anything too complicated. It's early days with a set when it comes out, so I think the more complicated builds will be fun further down the line. But as it stands, when the set drops, I'll be more of a simple kind of guy, I guess. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. Do any of these lists stand out to you? And yeah, thank you for watching.